spoke about my daughter coming on board full-time and also my health issues. In part 2, we're going to discuss how I almost lost my business. We only had an eBay store, and for quite a long time I'd really wanted to do a website but never had the time. So while Tess had come on board, this was the perfect opportunity. So we started to investigate websites and employed someone to do our first attempt. This actually didn't quite work out how we wanted it to. We were trying to get a website that would integrate with eBay and also the warehouse to control all the inventory in one spot. As this was about to go live, we realised that it wasn't really going to work how we wanted it to, so we abandoned that attempt. So Tess then started to work on a second attempt in with a website programmer, doing something similar but on a different platform, and they'd both been putting a lot of work into this. But then Tess decided that she wanted to further her career and go back to the corporate office. So she left Bali Abundance before the second attempt went live. So I did employ some part-time people once Tess left, just to help me get the listings into the new system. And then when we went live, this was our second disaster. That didn't do what it was meant to do either, and it was mucking up my eBay store, and I actually had to shut the second attempt at a website down. My third attempt, some customers suggested that I outsource it to someone in India, and by this stage I did know a little bit more about, I'd started to learn the technology of what I wanted, and so I felt like I could communicate that. So I employed a girl in India to help set up a new website, similar to attempt 2, unfortunately. And in trying to explain something to her, I gave her access to our second attempt, but she, without my permission, decided she'd try and fix that, which I knew it didn't work. And it was live with our eBay store, and it totally mucked up our whole eBay store. I didn't know she'd done this, so I rang eBay and said, someone's hacked into my store, all the prices, everything was wrong. So they assured me not to worry, they could just take my store back to 24 hours earlier, and only any sales in that time I would have to fix up. But once they investigated it, they saw that someone had logged in from India, so they asked me if I'd given someone access, and because I had, they then would not help me and said that I had to fix it myself. So we had about 1,000 items on eBay, and all of them were all over the place. People were buying expensive items for $5, items that we didn't have. It was just crazy. And then we were trying to fix it. We had to do a stock take of the whole warehouse. It was pretty stressful, but then what happened next was even more stressful. So eBay have set rules that in 1 month you can only have 3 out of stock orders. So if someone orders something, you say, sorry, I don't have it, you're only allowed to do that 3 times. Because of what had happened with our eBay store, we'd done that more than 3 times. So they restricted our store. So I rang them and begging them and saying, you know, this isn't my fault, explained to them what happened, but everybody I talked to just told me that there was nothing that they could do. So I started ringing them virtually daily. I was crying on the phone because at that point, eBay was the source of all of my customers. It was starting to get word of mouth since we were starting to open direct to the public, but most people found us from eBay. So they just basically shut me down, and I realised at that stage how silly I was, really, having all my eggs in one basket. So we were trying to fix the eBay store and get it back to normal, so that when our restriction come off, it would be correct. But our sales were constantly dropping. I had overheads. So at this stage, I was back to the core of me, Arlene and Jeff, and I only got them in when I needed them. So basically I was just here on my own. And it was to the point where I was really concerned about how I was going to keep going forward, because money just wasn't coming in and I still had to pay my rent. One day I remember ringing eBay and still getting nowhere, that I was literally on my office floor by myself in fetal position on the floor, crying, like sobbing out loud, and just looking at the roller door. I just wanted to pull it down and shut shop. I was done. So after getting all that emotion out though, I looked up and I had a warehouse still full of furniture. This point was actually my turnaround, because I felt that everything I went to do every day was just a nightmare. Everything I went to do was just wrong. I kept hitting roadblocks. So I changed my thought. I thought, okay, I can do this. I have to turn this around. In my head, I said, I've got 2 years. If I can't turn it around in 2 years, then I'm done. So I got up off the floor and I started to work on what I could do, not what I couldn't. So I started to work on positive and what I could do, and things slowly, very slowly, started to change. This was actually rock bottom for Bali Abundance, and it was only up from here. So stay tuned to the next episode, where you'll hear how we turned Bali Abundance around to what it is today.